Hello, welcome to the lodge. It's been a while, I haven't made any videos, I've been pretty busy, but this is my official ground blind. I have a Northern Flight portable blind that I use as well, but I wanted to basically build a prototype of a ground blind with a flip top. So basically what I did is I used a frame that I built with 1x2x8 cedar, and I built a frame that's 6 feet long and 3 feet wide with a crossbar where the flip screen comes up. And then I used an old blind that was damaged, and I cut the panels off, which have zippers, and I was able to essentially attach that. Now, how did I do that? So basically, I bought a garden screen, like a plastic mesh screen, and I covered the frame of the blind to make sure that I had some sort of matrix of plastic that I could attach my burlap and blind panels. So I pierced the blind panels with scissors, and I used about 300 zip ties and zip tied the blind panels to the matrixed mesh. And so the frame was at every joint was reinforced with an L-shape metal clip that has two holes, and I was able to screw in the screws to make it steady. And so essentially this is the final product. So I have the two panels in the front. I put burlap on this side, and I'll come around here and show you what the sides look like. So the sides also have panels, and underneath is the actual plastic mesh. And what I did on top here is I bought one of those, the garden plant covers. It looks like a tent and essentially a dome out of nylon, and you put them over top of your miniature pine trees and they protect it. Well, those, if you fold them in half, actually have a metal frame in it, which is quite flexible, just like your typical blinds that you'd buy at any hunting shop. Well, what I did is I actually zip tied the frame together, and so fold it into one singular flat piece, and I burlapped. I put a strip of burlap, and I put the strip of this camo mesh, and I zip tied it all together in one singular piece. Now, right here is the folding spot. So this folds right here, and this allows the front panel to fold. Now, what I also did is I cut inside the bag and the garden bag, and I created a panel, an actual port here where I can actually look out through the camo mesh. So if I'm lying down and I see birds coming, I can close the cover and I can see the bird activity through the mesh. And then if I see a bird and I decide to shoot, well, I can push forward with my hands. So I push this forward like this. There you go. And then and that opens the panel, and then I'm able to sit up and shoot. And so you can see inside here, there's the wooden frame. So you can see where I zip tied the screen to it on each side. Now the 6-foot pieces, there's one that runs along the bottom, and there's another one that runs along the top, and it actually goes downward. It's angled almost like a triangle. And so at the end, there's a 2-foot high pieces on each side, which gives it that height. So there's room for basically for my boots, and I can also put my backpack in here. And I've also made the opening longer than your Northern Flight blinds, so that I can actually put my shotgun in there and protect it from the rain and any kind of crap weather. So, and I can stash shells in there as well, and you can get nice and comfortable here. Now these panels that I took from my previous blind that was no longer working, they're actually windproof and waterproof. So on cold, windy days, especially with my waders on, I can basically sit in that blind and be perfectly warm with Gore-Tex gloves and my long johns and so on. So I am really not concerned about the cold at all. And so this is the view from above, and I'll just close the panel again. So I can close the panel And you can see here through the panel, you can look through the matrix screen and you can actually see through the mesh and you can see the bird activity on either end. So I actually cut kind of like a half moon section out of the mesh, which allows me to see the actual, see the bird activity. And then if I put that down from above, I got coverage with the mesh and the original blind. In the back, I put another strip of burlap with camo mesh as well. And what I will do, just like you would on your Northern Flight blind, is I'll use my knife, and if I notice that the vegetation is lighter in color, then what I'll do is I'll grab some of the vegetation, cut some of the dead vegetation, and use that and just put strips of grass on top of the blind. Now, for the in order to also reinforce the these blind panels, what I did is I also bought screws and washers, about 200 washers and screws, and I screwed in the panels using washers and miniature screws along the wooden frame to reinforce it. So if there's strong winds, it's not going to blow around, make a lot of rattling noise, and it'll keep it nice and secure. And I also used some camo paint. So I went to the local hardware store and they sell spray camo paint. So I was able to use kind of like a greenish and a black color, and to cover the shiny parts of the washers and the screws so that it doesn't show. Also, to protect myself from the nails and screws, I use screws that fit perfectly within the dimensions of the pieces of wood. The zip ties, I cut all the extensions off them once you zip them through and zip them tight, so it wouldn't poke my eyes out. And also my next step is to basically build a shoulder strap. So I'll just use any old shoulder strap from an old bag, screw it into the wooden frame. And this blind is really, really light. I would say easily it's under 10 pounds. It's super light. Now, the other thing I did is I also built it to dimensions for my truck's bed. So it's 3 feet by 6 feet, and it slides in between the wheel wells, and I can actually close the gate and strap it down. So it's high speed, low drag. It doesn't cause any issues sliding into the truck. Now, this is not a type of blind like the Northern Flight that I'm going to be walking up to 5 kilometers and then setting up. This is a type of blind that I would use normally, like maybe not even 300 or 400 meters. So I'll park the vehicle and then carry that through some of the terrain, because it can be pretty muddy and wet where I go, and sometimes it's not easy to navigate. So I'm gonna add a strap to this, and I literally can just strap it over my shoulder and carry it like a small wooden frame, and it's ultra light. It's really not an inconvenience to carry whatsoever. I've actually flipped it over back and forth, just moving it around the garage to get the paint job done properly. And I had no problems whatsoever moving that around. And I made it extra robust by adding strips of metal at all the joints and reinforcing it with screws, so it holds it nice in place. So it wobbles a bit, but it's not going to break. So I can sometimes, depending where I park, I can lift it and put it over top of a fence and just rest it there while I climb over. And there's no problems at all with it getting damaged. In any case, all of this came under $80 Canadian to build, with the washers and the screws being probably the most expensive. The wood, I bought it in an as-is section in the lumber store, and it cost me like not even $1, $2 per pieces of wood for the 8-foot straps, and I'm very pleased with it. So this is my homemade ground blind, and I'm gonna try it out in the next few weeks for sure, as the fields and the creeks are still open and they haven't frozen yet. So I'll let you guys know what I think of it, and I'll take some pictures out in the field as well. Okay, thanks, bye.